Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Home Run podcast. I'm your host, Alex Sendek. Last week, we got tactical with Adi Pavlovich from NewZip, breaking down how better realtor buyer connections can help investors close smarter, faster, and with way less friction. This week, we're going even earlier in the journey, all the way back to square one, because the truth is most people don't need help scaling. It's all about starting. Buying your first investment property is the hardest move you're going to make and also the most impactful. So if you've been watching from the sidelines, this episode is your official wake-up call. No more overthinking. Let's get you that first property. We're joined today by Antonio Cucciniello, founder of Investarters, who's made it his mission to help everyday people go from doom scrolling Zillow to actually buying their first rental property. What Beeline and Antonio have in common is simple. We're obsessed with giving people, especially young investors, the shortest, simplest path to financial freedom through real estate. We remove the obstacles along the way to kind of help make that happen. But that's we're aligned there. So Antonio left a cushy six-figure tech job to build financial freedom through real estate. Now he owns a growing portfolio, mentors thousands through those scary, messy, rewarding first steps, and has a following of well over 1 million who tune in. So today we're going to talk about how to buy your first rental, even if you're broke or terrified, why analysis paralysis kills deals and how to beat it, what financing options like DSCR loans can do for first-timers, and of course, the step-by-step mindset and systems that get you from scrolling to closing. Antonio, welcome to Home Run.
Thanks for having me, Alex.
Absolutely, sir. Thanks for being on the show. Let's get into it. So, I guess we'll kind of start in your origin story and I guess a mindset shift in general here. So you left a high-paying job in tech to start over with real estate. What was going through your head at the time?
It's a good question. What was going through my head at the time? So yeah, I didn't leave immediately. I bought my first property while I was at my job, but I always knew that I wanted to not be in a job full-time. I wanted to be doing my own thing. I'm someone that really enjoys being able to do something when I want to do it and how I want to do it. I don't like asking for permission to do things. And so a job doesn't really align with that at all, because you have to ask to take off. You have to ask to go work from home. You have to ask to do this. You have to ask to do that. So my whole life was about that. And so I realized that after I bought my first property, or while I was buying my first property, I started making videos about it. And it seemed like other people really enjoyed doing it. So I offered a class to people going over how I bought my first property. And the way I got people for that was I was cold messaging 10 people a day on Bigger Pockets who said that they had that problem. And then I got some people to sign up. I got my first paying customer, and then I kept doubling down on that. And by the time I hosted my, I think it was like my 4th class, I had started doing it full time, and I had a book. And at that point I had 100,000 followers on TikTok talking about this. And so the combination of all three allowed me to take the leap. And also I bought a few more rental properties at that point. So I felt like I had more cushion than I did before.
Nice. Now, I am curious, was it really about not taking time off or taking time off that made that flip from like W-2 guy to self-employed? Or was there a specific gotcha moment? Did you have a boss that made it tough on you? Or let's see if we can get into a little bit of the nitty-gritty details here.
Yeah, no, I mean, I grew up with
Everybody
really strict.
has that, right? Yeah.
What did you say?
So everybody kind of, I feel like, has that gotcha moment anyway.
Yeah. There is some gotcha moments, I will say. It was the first moment I experienced was when I was the day one at my first software engineering job. This is like 4 or 5 years before I bought my first property. And I'm sitting there and I'm just like, damn, I have to sit here all day regardless of how much I got done. Like I'm just stuck here from 9 to 5. And that doesn't make any sense to me. It should be about like how I do things. But then at this last job I was at, I had a manager that didn't really like, because at that point I was making YouTube videos about like generic self-improvement stuff, and he did not like it at all, where like he would embarrass me in front of the whole office and like play my videos and like laugh at them and make jokes. And like I was just like, man, one day he's going to, you know, regret this, because like I'm not going to stop doing this because of him, but like this is just going to be a funny joke to him for now. So like that humiliation wasn't fun. But
wow,
yeah, it was more like the thought that like I had to. I don't even like taking time off that much. It's more just like, if it's 2 p.m. and I want to hang out with my friend and I got work done today, why can't I?
Yeah.
And then I could start working again at 7 o'clock for an hour or two, and I can still get way more done than the average employee once I realize that much.
So many people who start their own business always talk about the vacation part, and I always laugh because they're all workaholics. And I think it's just the knowing that you can, I think, that makes people feel better. Not that you will, because you're still going to work your ass off, but you're gonna, you know, at least you have that knowledge you can. So I totally hear you there. Hey, listen, I think you mentioned a couple a little earlier. Did you say you wrote a couple books?
Yeah, so
That's good. You might be the first author on the Home Run podcast. First author on the Home Run podcast, everybody. As far as I'm aware, a 2-time.
The first book I wrote is more like a pamphlet. It's like 37 pages. It's bigger than a pamphlet, but not necessarily a book. It was about weathering your emotional storms. And I don't know if I even sold a copy. I might have sold like a copy to a friend or friends and family. But I wrote that book because I just felt inspired that like people needed to learn more about how to control their emotions and, you know, react better. I feel like that's something we don't learn in school.
No.
And so I just, every day to work, I wrote a little bit. On the way back, I wrote a little bit, because at that time I was working at NBC. I was living in New York City and I was working in New Jersey. So I take a bus 45 minutes to an hour there, 45 minutes to an hour back. So it was, I could just sit there. I had Wi-Fi and work for a bit. But yeah, that was the first book. But then the second book is about real estate. It's about buying your first investment property. And again, I wrote that with the first version was right after I bought my first property, because I had read book after book after book getting into it. And, you know, I read the book on rental property investing by Brandon Turner. I read The Millionaire Real Estate Investor by Gary Keller, ABCs of Real Estate Investing by Ken McElroy. Like I can list off 10 more, and all of them felt like they gave me a hit of motivation, but didn't really tell me exactly what to do. So I'd read the book as a way to be like, I'm not ready yet to buy real estate. Yeah. I'd read the book and I'd still not be ready yet because I had a bunch more information, but I didn't know what to do in what order.
That makes a lot of sense and helps me connect a few dots just watching your videos and your website. Wow, you do exactly that piece of it. If I have to compliment you, your videos, in my opinion, are so well thought out and truly tell you step by step the info that is missing in all of those books you just mentioned. Do a wonderful job of that. I just had to compliment.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, that's because I'm well aware that I'm not the richest real estate investor. I don't have a yacht. I don't even own where I live. I don't have a Ferrari or a Lamborghini. I lease a Tesla Model 3. Like I'm not any of those things. I'm not even financially free off of the real estate yet, but I just realized that I'm a couple steps ahead of everyone else, but I understand where they're at. And so I was like, I feel like there's this big gap between the really rich investor and the guy who's starting out. And right now, the only thing that plugs that gap for the most part is spending $20,000 on a mentorship program. And that's people's down payments for a rental property. So like, how is that going to work? There needs to be something that plugs that gap that's doable. And so I've been trying to do that. Like I made my course free. I now made my book free just to try to get as many people over the finish line, because my objective is to work with them long term. And if they buy their first rental property using my free information, I think they'll trust me enough to invest money with me long term, which that's where I see education as like Drake has a line. He goes, y'all are fighting over crumbs where the bread at. And like, I think the education is the crumbs and the bread is the real estate. So I'm more interested in the long term and that.
You're 100%. We're 100% aligned in that. And over here at Beeline, again, I'm on the front lines with my sales team. We're out here educating the people every day on DSCR and non-QM and how to go about, in a very similar way, how to build your portfolio. And a lot of them are first-time investors. And we agree, educating those folks and building that rapport is, it's not about the initial, right? It's not that about that first purchase. It's about the long term, right? And I think that's, it all starts with somebody's got to be out here educating the people to foster home ownership. And I love that about you, Antonio. I think that's something that your company and our company absolutely are very aligned with. So kudos to you. And not just that. And I urge the people, everybody listening here, please check Antonio out on YouTube, on his website, etc. Check out some of those videos. It goes into some great depth on how to truly go about shopping for that rental and then buying it. And then even goes into the financing and then goes into the cash flow. It's great. It really is. And the other thing I might add, and I feel like I'm just like gushing over you a little bit, Antonio, right now, but like there's a lot of professionals out there that I feel like are really negative and bring a negative experience to clients. What I mean by that is, I don't want to throw anybody under the bus, but if we're out here telling people that you can buy a 16-unit property with no money down and no credit, that's an unrealistic expectation to set, right?
I will say that it's possible, but it's possible. It's unlikely. It's unlikely.
To start with that is a little bold, right? And I think sure, if you find a unicorn with the seller finance type deal to be able to get that done, hey, that's a big flex. You're the man. But like telling people about that and kind of like focusing around that is not realistic. And we get a ton of people reaching out to us wanting to do that. And I'm like, buddy, I don't want to kill your dreams. Of course it's out there, but let's talk about a little bit more realistic, right? And I think that's where you kind of get into, I think your chart you made about, well, anyway, I'll let the people check out the YouTube videos, check them out. But let's before I get too further in on this tangent, let's move on. Let's talk about those first deals that we say are the hardest. And I mean, the first deals are the hardest, and for several reasons, not even necessarily financially, but just the mindset and just your psyche about buying the property can be a big mental step. So in your opinion, what makes the first property the biggest hurdle?
Yeah. Well, so for me, it's about the fact that you are putting your entire life savings for most people. Like for me, I was 26 when I closed on my first property. That was everything I had. The $30,000 was what I had to show for the few years I worked. And if I put it all and I lost it, not only would I be shooting myself in the foot financially, but it's also about what other people think. It's like my friends and family are going to see me as a failure. Now I can't buy a house for myself. I also can't save up for a ring for marriage. I'm risking it all just to maybe get a couple $100s a month from a rental property. And I don't even know if that's going to work or not. Right. Yeah. So, and it's also having no examples other than maybe people you see online as the example, because most people don't grow up with a real estate investor friend. And even the best real estate investors aren't going to meetups all the time and wanting to just give free information to newbies. So to make a connection with someone like that, it's harder unless if you happen to be in the field and maybe you're a real estate agent working with one of these people. But so you have no clear examples other than videos on social media, and you're risking a lot. The risk is very high, which could be a potential lower reward. And that's why I was stuck for 4 years, was because I was I don't know. I could have invested earlier, but I didn't because I was scared and I didn't want to lose any of my money. I worked hard for it.
I resonate with that 100%. I was also 26 when I purchased my first investment property. I'll even take it a step deeper. Personally, I don't know about you. I did not grow up with generational wealth. I had student loan debt. I had never in my life really experienced, like you said, a mentor or anybody to kind of show you how to go about that and buy that first rental. And you know, it was just a little scary, right? So eventually, obviously, me being in the industry, I was able to get over that. But it took me still a few years because I was like, man, you know, that money is once it's gone, it's gone. It feels like, right? And you work really freaking hard to get that money. You work really freaking hard to get out of that hole, out of that student loan kind of hole you dug yourself into, or whatever, right?
You were forced to dig yourself into because no
I
one
was
really
forced to
educated
dig
you on
into
it.
it. Yeah, exactly. And so you're just like, gosh, man, I finally got a little money under my belt here. Am I really gonna put that into this investment and hope it works for the best? And thankfully, you know, I had, being in this industry, I was able to get over that, and it was the best decision I've made. I still own that property today. It cash flows great. It's gone up great, and it's gone up great in value. So it's all worked out. But that first step scared the crap out of me. Now it's almost like getting your first tattoo, in my opinion. You're kind of scared to get that tattoo, and then once you get one, you're freaking addicted to it, and you want to get it right away. You're getting your next one. So that's kind of what I tell folks. So, and I feel like that's
Well, if they if they have
pretty good
tattoos,
metaphor.
then it's a really good metaphor, I guess.
If you have them. Right. Okay, so you help people buy their first rental in 90 days, right? What stops most people from doing it on their own, would you say? What I kind of referenced, or is it even deeper than that, or something else entirely?
Yeah, I would say it's just the ultimate fear of like I said, like it being risky. You know, you could make the argument that a lot of them are not from generational wealth. Most people don't come from generational wealth. Like I was lucky enough that my parents owned their house. And so that for me was the biggest thing that helped us scale our portfolio because I borrowed against that to help us buy more properties. But like for most people, they don't want to see that capital disappear and make a mistake. Because I think there's a lot of things associated with making that mistake. And usually they need someone or something, because like, to be clear, all the information's out there.
Yeah.
I think the only thing that I provide that other people don't is I put it in the right order for everyone.
Yeah.
Once it's in the right order, okay, really all you have to do is do it. But like I have thousands of people that have downloaded my course, and I don't know how many people bought my book at this point, but it's like it's there, but most people have limiting beliefs or issues that prevent them from actually doing it. So I would argue, just like anything else, real estate's an inner game, not an outer game. Because even though we blame it on the information, we blame it on not knowing, it's really the fear, or it's really the anxiety that you have around it that prevents you from doing.
Yep. 100%. 100%. And the only way that I know to get rid of that anxiety and fear is to prepare, and for you to organize those thoughts, and that step-by-step process, I'm sure, helps alleviate a lot of that anxiety and stress, which is your game, which is awesome. So, I mean, what advice do you give to someone who's in research mode, right? That's trying to alleviate that stress, that they're in research mode, still haven't made a move. What kind of advice would you give to that person?
I would do one thing at a time. So that means first pick a strategy, because there's fix and flip, buy and hold, wholesaling, BRRRR, Airbnb, whatever. Each one of these works differently. There's different types of properties that work for those. So first pick a strategy. Whichever one that helps you get to your goals first is how I would look at it. So for me, that's why I picked rental properties over fix and flip, because I didn't want to start a fix and flip business at the time. Even though I have one now, I wanted to just do a rental business. So then the second step is, okay, where the hell am I going to do this thing? And to figure that out, I use data to back up my rationale. Things like price to rent ratio, home prices, population growth, unemployment rates, median salaries, these kinds of things. I won't go into all of it right now, but that's a process that, again, you could follow step by step all the way through. Then you pick a city. A lot of people get stuck around there, especially if it's somewhere out of state, because they're like, I've never been there before, all these things. So one thing to make that simpler is to just take a weekend and go take the trip and see it. Sure, it might cost you $500, $1,000 on Airbnb and hotel, but if you're about to spend $50,000 on a down payment or $100,000 plus because you're buying multiple properties, it makes sense to go spend $1,000 to go check out the area to feel comfortable about it.
Yes, it does.
Either that, or like if you can work from home for a week out of the city and spend your nights like driving around different parts, different neighborhoods, seeing how the activity is at night. So once you've done that, then it's about like getting pre-approved. So if you don't have a job, a DSCR loan is a great way to do that. If you're self-employed, it's a great way to get started. If you, because I know some, do you guys offer DSCR without one property experience?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
cool.
we do first-time investors with DSCR. We will even do first-time home buyers with DSCR in the right situation, which is pretty unique. So yeah, we absolutely do have that.
Awesome. Yeah. So like, because in the past it was a lot of lenders I would run into needed one property experience, so you couldn't do it for your first property. But now I'm noticing, yeah. So that's awesome that you guys offer that. So DSCR is a great way to get started. It's pretty simple to do that. But if you have a job, a regular W-2 job, you could also get a conventional loan. So then at this point, it's about figuring out what loan option you have. So calling someone like you would be the great way to do that, get an idea of what you need. Again, these people, lenders and people like you, are here they make money when you buy. So it doesn't cost you anything to get this free advice from them. And they could actually guide you in the right direction. And they might be an investor themselves, like you. So
that's right.
So they could help you on that end. So there's that. And then once you get pre-approved, it's just a matter of like calling up a real estate agent and looking at houses. But a lot of people are like looking at houses and don't have a strategy, or looking at houses in multiple markets, or looking at houses and don't know how to analyze a property. And so you're like doing all of these things that make you feel like you're making progress, so that you want to invest in real estate, but you're not actually doing the process. Yeah. So if you do one thing at a time, I know it's boring to do all these things, but if you want that financial freedom at the end of the road, to me, these are the steps that need to be done to get there.
If you want to eliminate the fear and the anxiety, you've got to, right? Yeah. Otherwise, you're just shooting blind, right? And I love what you said about going to the location and really checking it out. I find a lot of investors have this bias that they need to buy where they live. Where they live is where they should be buying rental properties. And that is very much not the case, in my opinion. I think you should be. I think you're shooting yourself in the foot if you feel like you must buy where you live. Not saying that's a bad idea, but I'm just saying you're limiting your options significantly, and you may be missing out on some great markets by not having the confidence to go out and explore and buy in other areas. Am I right?
Well, not only that, but like I would argue that most people who have money to invest live in areas where it doesn't make sense to invest. Right? Like you or me. Doesn't really make sense to buy in some of these places like New York, LA, San Francisco, Miami, whatever. It makes more sense to invest in places that are cheaper. And so take the good salary that you have in your cushiony job and put it towards something that can actually make you money rather than something that costs you money.
100%. Absolutely. Okay, great. So and I know you have so many people you work with. I'm wondering if you see any trends. What property types are you seeing a lot of real beginners succeeding in right now? Are you getting a mixed bag between short-term rentals and cash flowing long-term rentals, or where are you seeing a lot of people trending towards?
Well, I think what I'm seeing right now is that a lot of Airbnb is slowing down because people are just traveling a little bit less. because the economy's slower and they ran out of all their COVID money.
Too, I feel like hotels are making a comeback too. I feel like too. Huh?
Hotels, yeah, because
Like
people are starting to like take a poo-poo a little bit on Airbnbs because they're charging a lot and they don't feel like they're getting what they want.
Airbnb busts.
Airbnb busts, yeah. But I do still think that there's money to be made in Airbnb. It's just not like the gold mine it might have been. I personally don't have any Airbnbs. I tried to get a few, but it just didn't work out. And I still think it's possible, but like you really have to do it well. You have to make sure you're doing an experience well. And so like it's a different type of investing than it is to get a long-term rental. A lot of the principles are the same in terms of calculating cash flow and appreciation and all this stuff, but it's not exactly the same. I will say right now, long-term rentals too are hard to find because interest rates are higher, taxes went up, insurance went up, and the rents went up, but not nearly as much. So you have to really try harder to get a good deal right now to find cash flow.
We see that on our side too, and it's something that I tell all of my clients with the interest rates, with insurance, with taxes, et cetera, where they're at right now. Marry the house, date the rate. We can refinance here at Beeline Loans, and we will take care of your interest rates for you when the time comes. It will happen. The good thing that happens with higher interest rates generally is the home value should be on the lower end. So at least we should be able to take advantage of some decent purchase prices during that time. During that time, hopefully the market shifts interest rate wise and we can get you in a better rate soon. But marry the house, date the rate has served me well as an investor and as a lender. But it's something I would urge folks listening to consider.
Yeah, some of the strategies I might outline right now are maybe a little bit more advanced that I wouldn't recommend to a beginner necessarily. But like one thing a beginner can do is go on their city or wherever they're looking to invest and like look. You can go to Redfin and you can look up the average days on market, or I think it's average or median days on market for that area. And basically any home that's been over the average, try to make them a low ball offer that works. You're going to get rejected a lot. But I think right now is the period of like sellers are sitting on their properties for longer. They want to sell for the price that they had in 2022 and 2023, but that's no longer doable. And so they're going to be forced to drop the prices. And I'm seeing that greatly here in Austin. Like a quadplex was on the market that apparently, my agent was telling me about that it was going for $729, which will never cash flow. That's besides the point. But they were like, yeah, we're not moving on the price at all. Then they lowered it $100K a week later because the seller needs to sell, and it's not selling at $729 because that's a ridiculous price to sell it for. It doesn't cash flow. The period of just buying properties because interest rates were low is gone, and it's time to get back to fundamentals of does it cash flow today as is? Can I withstand some loss in rent if that happens over the next few years? And if you can, then buy it.
I totally agree. That's exactly my mindset. It's exactly how I approach it as an investor myself. Now, I'm not doing my first one, but which is a little different, right? And you do need to have reserves, and you need to have a cushion there during those difficult times where the rates are a little uncooperative, we could say. So then what kind of numbers should they be looking for, right? If you're not cash, obviously we're looking at maybe a break even. How do you simplify deal analysis in this type of market?
The simple way of doing it that people did before was the 1% rule, where you would say that 1% of the rent, or if the rent was 1% of the home price. So if it's a $200,000 house, but every month it rents for $2,000, then it would cash flow. That's not what I'm seeing right now. I'm seeing that it needs to be 1.25% for it to cash flow because the interest rate increase and stuff. So that's like the simplest way to do it. If you're looking at the rent, if you're looking at the home price, multiply that by 0.0125. And if it can't rent for that, then it's probably not a good deal.
Fair enough.
It's a good way to quickly be able to just cut deals out and look at them. And again, I want to be clear, because I don't think this is stressed enough for beginners, is that most homes will not work, especially ones that you see on the market. That doesn't mean you're doing something wrong. I thought I was doing something wrong when I started, because I'm living in Manhattan and I'm looking at a co-op asking $550,000 studio, and I'm like, if this rents for $2,000, but my mortgage is, $3,000, this doesn't make any sense. Because I was under the impression that just like every home was a good investment, but most of them are not. You have to get everything at the right price.
Especially if we're looking at cash flow as your litmus test. And that's what most folks do. Now, I feel like in Manhattan's different. It's like you're buying Manhattan real estate, hoping that it's going to, the home values are going to skyrocket year over year over year over year, and that's not reality.
It's not a safe strategy, because you're locking yourself into a losing rent.
It's a bold strategy.
Yeah, and the laws are not backing you up at all. That's for damn sure.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Manhattan's a rough market. Okay, so when we're talking about funding the first deal, a lot of people kind of think, and this is where you and I think kind of can tie in here and collab. A lot of people think you need to have tons of money saved to buy a rental. A lot of people think you need to have a good amount of income to buy a rental. You and I both know that's not the case. What's the reality?
The reality is that you can get around almost anything, but you're going to have to make some form of sacrifice on another end. So, for example, if you want to put no money down, then you need to move into the property. You're going to have to do an FHA loan and see if you can qualify for a down payment assistance program, or get the seller to pay your closing costs, which means it's going to be harder for you to do that. On the other end, if you don't have high income, but you're going to need down payment for the DSCR loan that you're going to get, right? Or if you want a lower down payment loan and the house needs work, you need to do a hard money loan, which requires lower down payment, but you need to do the work to get the house fixed up. So, like, there is work involved. There are sacrifices involved. It's just about choosing the thing that the best aligns with your goals and allows you to accomplish what you want in the quickest time frame. So, like, if it's going to take you 5 years to save the money to buy a property, but like you feel like you can get started by house hacking, then start by house hacking.
I see a lot of people do that.
Yeah, especially right now, I think it's one of the best strategies for beginners to buy a duplex in their market, and it was cheaper than renting for a lot of people. And so I look at it as, if you were spending $2,000 on rent, but now your mortgage is $1,500, your cash flow is $500.
Yeah, that's a great way to look at it. And you can go up to 4 units, by the way, to do that. You could buy a fourplex and do that same house hack. So they're out there. And man, if I was 23 to 25, I'm older than that now, but if I were back in the day, if that was an available resource, I don't believe that house hack existed. Maybe it did, and I just wasn't aware of it, but I don't remember too many folks buying multifamilies as a primary and getting that down payment for a primary like they do today. So that's a game changer, a great idea for especially you younger folks. Like you said,
even if you don't want to live with randos, you rent it out to your friends and just get a property management company involved. 100. So this way you don't end up having to, be the manager in between your friends.
Oh, dude, I would have had a fourplex in Arlington, Virginia with just the boys, and it would have been lovely, and it would have been awesome. But old me wasn't aware of that at the time, and I just went ahead and paid rent for some lousy apartment in Arlington, Virginia, and I lost out. So be smarter than me, learn from my mistakes, buy that cash flowing property right away, right? So at Beeline, we see young investors use DSCR loans to buy with confidence, even without W-2 income. how should someone decide if that's the right fit for them? Would you say? I mean, we typically need 25% down. So I guess that's the starting point, but anything you'd want to add there?
I will.
Books?
Yeah, I'll just say that DSCR loans are the way to scale your portfolio 100%. Like I tried to get qualified for an FHA loan like 3 years ago with a cosigner who had a full W-2 job and everything. And it took 3 months to get a pre-approval letter, not a qualified pre-approval letter. It was insane. Now you could make the argument that it was the lender, but a DSCR loan after you bought, even before you bought your first property, had I known about it, I would have done it. It's just simpler. It's an easier process. And it allows you to keep going without being tied to your income. So like you don't have to worry about having a job or have to worry about having consistent income or prove your income and then also show all of your other assets.
Right.
That's the biggest thing is like I own properties with my family members and I'm showing, oh, I own this percentage of this. Okay, well, we need taxes, insurance, and mortgage statement for that. And then I need that for all 9 of my properties. Come on. And then I need the rent roll for every single one of my units. That's like 45 documents just on the properties alone to get approved. Whereas with my DSCR, I just fill out like a questionnaire of some form, an experience doc, and then I'm good.
Yeah, exactly. Here's how I talk to folks about it, right? So outside of doing the house hack where you're buying a primary residence multifamily, you live in one of the units, you rent the others. Up front, I always tell people, and this is something that Beeline, I know I'm biased, I work for Beeline, but I've never really I've never seen or heard of another company that does it this way. We're an expert in both conventional or traditional financing as well as DSCR and non-QM, right? So if you're a newer investor and you might not know if DSCR is the right, it's similar down payment, right? If you're buying an investment conventionally or DSCR, similar down payment size, 20%, call it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you're going to get the best financing terms conventionally overall. You'll get very similar terms DSCR, but the best will be conventionally. I always tell folks, apply with your lender and apply conventionally with your personal income first. See if that's tenable or not. And then if it's not, flip it right over to a DSCR, remove the personal income, and we keep it moving, right? Mm-hmm. DSCR is only worried about the cash flow, no personal income. So this way, at Beeline, you get both of your bases covered. You're going to get the best financing terms that make the most sense for you. And you're really not having to go between multiple different lenders to get that done. Most lenders, they're either focused on the DSCR or non-QM platform or conventional, right? So with us, we kind of fit both of those boxes. We're going to put you in the best position. If you're that seasoned investor that doesn't want to deal with the documentation you just mentioned, great. We already know right off the bat, DSCR. First-time investors, they're not sure. They love to learn about DSCR, but maybe that's not the best product for them. And maybe this time, conventional makes the most sense. As you continue to build, you're naturally going to flow into that DSCR loan program per what you said, right? Like eventually you're either going to max out on a DTI, debt to income, or you just get tired of freaking supplying, an entire forest in the Pacific Northwest gives its life to give the documentation in for getting an approval, right? For a conventional deal, right? So it's crazy. So I just tell folks, do something that makes sense, right? You don't know, just learn the info, gather it, and make the best informed decision from there, right? Like,
I think that's smart. Compare and decide.
Compare and decide. What is the biggest myth about real estate investing you wish you could erase from people's heads? I have a few in mind, but I'm curious what you would say. The biggest myth about real estate investing you wish you could erase from people's heads?
I guess it depends on how many people believe in this myth, but that you have to be rich to start or that it's only for rich people. Or that I get the question a lot, weirdly, that you need a license to do this. I mean, I don't know if that's a common.
Really
Yeah. Surprisingly enough, like, do you need a license to do this? I'm like, no.
interesting. I've never
Um,
gotten that one.
yeah, okay, here's one that I think is the biggest one is investing in your own city is what you're
Yes,
supposed to do. Because like
totally.
honestly, all the books for the most part that I read were like, get your local newspaper and do this and do that. And I'm like, I'm reading this living in Lower East Side Manhattan, and I'm like, what?
It's becoming a published fallacy. It's
Yeah.
like a straight up bias at this point. Like that's a no go. Do not necessarily do that, right?
Yeah.
Unless you do research and your hometown happens to be one of the top 10 performing investment real
Yeah.
estate areas in the country, which great for you. But other than that, you should be exploring, right?
Yeah.
And I
Exactly.
agree.
Like if you happen to have been born in Memphis
Charlotte or
or like,
wherever.
yeah, any of these markets that have grown massively,
Yeah. Yeah.
but still cash flow, like that's good for you. Like that's great, but like most people aren't going to be able to do that. So I guess you could choose to move, which I've helped someone do. They chose to move to St. Pete, Florida to start investing, and it worked out for them. They bought their first property with FHA and everything.
Yeah.
The house hacked for a year, and now they'll move back. They got an idea of the market. That's one way to do it. Another way to do it is just do it remotely.
Yeah.
But like you can spend all the time. The quickest way to figure this out is learn how to analyze a deal and then start doing it in your city. If you've analyzed 100 deals and not a single one like was cash flowing on paper, and not because you made a mistake, but because it actually cash flowed, then I think that's a good way to determine like, all right, I have no shot of finding something here.
Yep. Great info. I think that's a perfect answer, honestly. And I think it's funny. We both have the same myth. We're on point. All right. Once you've bought the first property, what's the smartest way to keep going? Do you give a little buffer? Do you just go right into the next one? What do you kind of advise folks?
I kept going immediately. After I bought my first property, I read Raising Private Capital by Matt Faircloth, and basically I was like, how the hell do I get more money? And I just started listing out all of my friends who I thought had money and family members who I thought had money or their source of capital. And so if you own your own house, there's probably a good chance that you could take some equity out on that house. But if you're like not that type of person, obviously doing lower down payments is the best way to scale. The quickest way to scale. Sorry, maybe not the best way to scale. So if you're comfortable with taking on more risk, then you can start doing some flips to generate some capital using hard money loans, or you can do some BRRRRs if that's something you can find. That's how I was able to scale quicker, but it was also easier to BRRRR when I did it a few years ago than it is to do exactly right now. So I'm not going to pretend like that's not an issue. So that would be my short-term answer is BRRRRing, obviously, because you can reuse the capital. But if not, it would be like house hacking, becoming a house hacker, just going year after year after year, going to new property until they don't let you anymore, and then start using that equity and capital to start scaling to get up.
Pull cash out of those properties and start going to the DSCR.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. Great. What does financial freedom really look like for most of your students? I guess it's different for everybody, right? What does financial freedom look like for you?
It looks like living in Italy part of the year, living in Austin part of the year, and New Jersey part of the year. For me, location freedom matters a lot because I want to spend time with my family, but I also don't like the winters. And clearly. I really love capitalism, but I also like the laid back culture and community that they have in Italy. So like, I want some combination of all three. And So it's mostly about location and time freedom, less about not working, which
Understood.
I think we talked about in the beginning.
I think if you enjoy living where you work, it just makes things easier. Just does. Just does. I totally agree with that. And I imagine, look, working in Italy sounds like a dream. How often are you in Italy, would you say? Like a few months a year or what?
Well, last year I was there 2 months,
Nice.
like 1 month one time and 1 month another time. This year I haven't gone. I don't know if I'll get to go this year, but I'd like to go next year. But I already have a lot of weddings lined up that are in other countries, so I don't know.
Hey, people, my friends, if you're listening to this, quit getting married. You guys are messing up my vacations.
and my investments. I'm trying to buy.
You got the bachelor party, you get the wedding, and they're all out of the country, and we're running around all over the place. I can't.
Yeah, each one is like a couple $1,000s. Like by the end of the year, in 2022, I went to 10 weddings, 4 bachelor parties. I went to Greece, Italy, Puerto Rico, LA twice, Chicago, Vegas. It's like I spent more time away from home than I spent at home, and I think I probably spent 15 to 20,000 on all of those. Yeah.
Easy. It's crazy.
That's a down payment.
It's getting out of hand.
That's literally a down payment.
I'm like in my early 30s now, and I'm like, all right, guys, I'm over it. I'm like, I had fun. If you haven't gotten married yet, it's a wrap. I'm on the no list moving forward. Not actually, but that's where my head's at right now. I'm just like, enough's enough. But anyway, all right. What's one thing someone listening could do today to make a real step forward in their investing journey, would you say?
I would say just get clear on exactly why you want to invest in real estate. And when you do that, try to get it down to a specific number that you're trying to get to. Because once you have that, it's the rest of the other pieces are easier to fall in line because you're acting from, okay, this is why I'm doing this. This is what I'm shooting for. But if you know you want to invest in real estate, but you don't know why or what you're shooting for, then it'll be hard for you to decide between fix and flip or rentals or whatever you want. And then it'll be hard for you to pick a location. Then it'll hard for you to get financing. It'll be hard for you to know how to analyze a deal. So you need to start there. And that process could take 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 minutes. And anyone can do that anywhere in the world. You just need a notebook or a laptop or, even on your iPhone, you can write it down, for Christ's sake. Doesn't matter.
Yeah. 100%. Okay, great. Well, you know what? Last thing here. What's the name of your book? And where can people follow your content or join Investarters if they're ready to take action?
So my handle is Investarters, INVESTARTERS. I am on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook. You probably want to follow me on Instagram so you can message me of some form. And if you want further help, I have a free school community where my course is in there. I have a bunch of free resources in there. We have 3,000 people in there. So that it's called Rentals to Riches. It's on the school platform. That's and my book is called The Beginner Real Estate Investor Playbook, a step-by-step guide to buying your first rental property. It's on Amazon, or if you want a free ebook, you can message me the word ebook on Instagram and you'll get sent a link to it.
Love it. I have to say, as somebody who's tried to write books myself, the fact that you've finished, not just once, but twice, major kudos. I'm super impressed. Antonio, that's all we have for today. I really, really, really appreciate your time. I had a great conversation with you today. Thank you again. I wish you all the success, sir. I really love your hustle and your game, and keep doing it, man. You're absolutely a rock star. I really appreciate you.
Appreciate it, Alex. I had a good combo too. Thank you.
All right, gang. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We look forward to hearing from you next time, or hearing from us next time, and we will be in touch soon. Have a great day, and we'll be in touch. Bye-bye.
Bye.